the legislature has made very significant commitments to infrastructure improvements and mass transit improvements for transportation during the last 4 years or so, to the tune of in excess of $4 billion. We're very fortunate to have a new and very capable and experienced commissioner for the Department of Transportation who leads and has oversight of all of those commitments. I have a really good, solid relationship with him. We have dialogue ongoing all the time. I've brought him to Bethel and to Brookfield to look at various transportation issues so that he has firsthand knowledge of what we're faced with. Certainly with the economic challenges, it kind of puts us perhaps in a more challenging place to meet the commitments to do improvements, but we're doing it in a very responsible way. We're still following a structured plan. We're trying to work at the federal level to ensure that the transportation funding that we enjoy, which is higher than most states at this moment, is continued. And we're buying new train cars. We're trying to encourage more and more people to travel by train and other modes of public transportation to help take off the congestion off our highways. One of the proposals that's been brought forward again this year has to do with tolling.
Right. I know it's controversial.
It is. And I would tell you that fundamentally I'm very much opposed to it for a few reasons. One is the state in 1987, as a result of significantly driven by one incident in particular, which
was on 95.
Stratford toll in 95, where there were 7 fatalities at that tolling station. The legislature soon after that passed a statewide elimination of tolls. As a result of that, which a lot of people don't know, it dramatically increased the amount of federal funding that we get for our transportation funding. Were we to attempt to re-implement tolls, which is being discussed, we would most certainly lose a significant portion of our current federal funding for transportation maintenance and improvements. So any potential revenue could wind up being neutral or perhaps even a loss. There are other elements that most people aren't aware of. One is that in order to re-implement tolls, we would have to get federal approval, which may not be an easy task, and it's certainly not going to be a quick one.
Not in this environment.
No. So, and also, even if we were successful at getting the approval to re-implement tolls, it would be required to be committed to that particular stretch of road. So for instance, if we put border tolls on 95 in Greenwich and in New London, all of the proceeds and revenue from those tolls would have to be directed to improvements and maintenance of I-95 in Connecticut. As a matter of fact, Senator Boucher and I, along with the House Chairman of the Transportation Committee, are hosting a informational session on tolling here in the Danbury area. And our intent there is not to necessarily propose or oppose tolling. We want the general public, and particularly people involved with businesses, including the area's Chamber of Commerce, to be better educated on all of the elements and components that are before the legislature. Keep in mind that when we have economic challenges as significant as they are now, everything winds up getting thrown on the table. So whether it initially makes sense or ultimately makes sense or not, many things are considered at a time like this that wouldn't otherwise be considered. But I don't think there's anything that we do in public office that is more significantly important than providing public safety. And I believe that that is part of the tolling issue.
Oh, I agree with you. You know,
not to mention all of the other impacts that could affect the state.
The economics alone, because when you charge a truck to come in, those costs are going to be passed on to the consumer.
Well, there's also a misconception that tractor-trailer trucks that travel the interstates would only pay revenue to the state of Connecticut, for instance, through the purchase of gas, but they're using our roads and they're not paying any tolls. The truth is that they're required under federal law to monitor
to log in. They've got to maintain individual
They have to maintain
logs.
a log, and we do get revenue from the trucks that travel through our state as a result of that practice. And so, you know, I'm all for considering any source of additional revenue, but not at the price of public safety, not at the price of being detrimental to our economic growth as far as tax revenue, the impact that it would have to the many commuters that travel, particularly from this end of the state, into New York City and other parts. So I think that there's a strong argument to maintain the status quo, even though there's other mechanisms that, you know, are away from the traditional toll booths. There's Easy Pass. There's even more advanced technology now where they use camera technology to capture registration vehicles going through the state. I don't believe, with the knowledge that I have at the moment, that that's a logical or sensible approach.
No, not in this economy. I agree with you, because, you know, it's bad enough how many people travel to work. You know, I know here in the Bethel area where they go into New York, okay, especially, it'd be a daily.
Thousands.
No, that's it. I remember traveling myself on 684 and on getting on 84 every day, another toll. It really doesn't make sense. You know, also we should really point out to the fact that in transportation that you've also been sort of helping out the situation on Route 7 on both sides. I guess there's going south, we're going to be expanding Route 7 from Danbury on down, connecting it to the 84, I guess.
Yes, from the exit 3 area of the interchange between Route 7 and I-84 south
going towards
Ridgefield.
Right. And then we got the one in your hometown of Brookfield there. Eventually we're going to see the bypass completed.
Well,
because I drove by the other day, and sure enough, I says, whoa, there seems to be an entrance to this thing, at least on the northern, and I was noticing it.
So we even have signage up, which is certainly a good sign. As many know in the area, that's been a project that's been stagnant for many years, and we've been thrilled to get that underway during this last, it's nearly 2 years now since it first began. But it's on schedule, despite the fact that there have been a number of obstacles that have been faced.
Environmental issues.
Yes, but I've had conversations in person with the DOT commissioner very recently, and he's assured me that, I mean, they're thrilled because even the environmental issues are being addressed, and being addressed very expeditiously, and they anticipate at this point that the bypass could be completed before the end of this year.
David, unfortunately, as usual, you got to come back again. We're running out of time. You know, I found it very interesting, and I really hope that our viewers tonight found this very, very interesting, especially finding that we do have a legislator who really cares about us in this trying economic time. Again, I'm Paul Zetkowski. It's time for us to practically sign off right here. I hope you've enjoyed the program. I hope it's been informative to you. If you have any questions about the program, kindly visit the Bethel Republican Town Committee website. There is valued information on there, and it's time to say good night, goodbye, and God bless.